832, a study at the University of Iowa in 2008 concluded that children, it should be who, play violent video games are more aggressive in real life. Children ages 9 to 12 were studied to determine how much they played violent video games. Peers and teachers were asked how much these students hit, kicked, and got into fights with other students. Okay, part A. Can you legitimately conclude from this study that teenagers who play violent video games tend to be more aggressive? Why or why not? This is a no. So keep in mind, teenagers are like 13 to 17. This study focused on 9 to 12-year-olds. So teenagers, oops, spelled that wrong. Teenagers were not included in this sample. Just 9 to 12-year-olds. All right, part B. Can you legitimately conclude from this study that children ages 9 to 12 who play violent video games are more likely to commit violent crimes? Why or why not? Okay, this is also a no, because crime rates were not studied. Now, we're going to say no. Crime rates were not studied. So because they weren't studied, we can't make that claim. Now, what they did study is how much those students hit, kicked, and got into fights with other students. And while those are non-desirable behaviors, it's still not classified as crime. So in this study, we can't make that claim because the crime rates were not studied. Part C. Can you legitimately conclude from the study that children ages 9 to 12 who play violent video games tend to hit and kick more in school? So let's go back to that first sentence up top here. So it says a study in the University of Iowa in 2008 concluded that children who play violent video games are more aggressive in real life. So that was their conclusion. That's what they found in the study. And remember, they were looking at how much students hit, kicked, and got into fights with other students. So in this case, yes, this study does indicate a relationship between those two variables. And again, the two variables being playing the violent video games and tending to hit and kick more in school. All right, that brings us to part D. So part D, can you legitimately conclude from the study that playing a lot of violent video games will cause 9 to 12-year-old students to become more violent at school? This is going to be a no. And we can only say that there's a relationship between the two, like we had mentioned in part C. So it can only be said that there is a relationship between the two. Now, the cause and effect are not known. And what I mean by the cause and effect are not known is, all right, well, is it the violent video games that cause the aggressive and violent behaviors? Or is it that, maybe the case is that violent students are more attracted to violent video games? So we'll mention that at the end here. So it might be that violent students are more attracted to violent video games. All right, and that's all for problem 832.